the historic Charles Bayon Conference Room here at the Ministry of Information. We Honorable Representative of Kpadeh is come to throw light on a number of developments that are taking place in the favor of Liberia at the IMO, but specifically you'll be throwing light on the fact that Liberia is hosting the 8th conference of the Association of African Maritime Administrations. That event is scheduled to take place here in Monrovia on the 30th to the 4th, on 30th to 4th September 30th September to 4th October 2025. So, Honorable Kpadeh will provide detailed information to you members of the press, the relevance of this event, why it's important for us to own up to it as a country, why it's important for us to use this event to be proud as a nation, because there are a lot of good things that are happening for us on the international scene. But before we take Honorable Kpadeh, of course you know that it is traditional that the Minister of Information or His Destiny will make some introductory remarks before the guest speaks. So I have some things to say, but I will firstly call on the Honorable Minister of Information, Honorable Representative Pia. He will speak, and then we will do the rest of it before Honorable Kpadeh mounts to the podium. Mr. Pia.
Let me say good afternoon to all of you, members of the press, and again welcome to our regular press briefing. I'd like to, in a special way, recognize and welcome my friend and brother who serves our country at the International Maritime Organization there in London, Wilmot Kpadeh. I also like to recognize a good friend and welcome him here at MICAT, Peter George Roberts. Peter was Deputy Minister for Administration, for the Ministry of Gender, Honor, it's a Labour Administration, and so currently he's at the Economic Zone, is that how you call it? So Peter, welcome. It's interesting. For the first time, I've seen one of the leaders at LBS attending the MICAT press conference, the Deputy Director for Rural Broadcasting News. Nama is here. So Nama, you are welcome. All of you that are here, those who accompany Mr. Kpadeh, my own team at the ministry, welcome to you, journalists, welcome. Last year, President Waka was in Italy, Rome, and as a part of what he did there, we visited the Vatican and met with the Holy Father. Months later, as we all know, the Holy Father has been called from labor to glory. Moments ago, the President led some members of the cabinet and the Vatican embassy in the Monrovia, Mama Point to be specific, to sign the book of condolence. Being a Catholic myself, I believe that that mission to Rome last year was a great honor For us Catholics, when you have to go to the Vatican and see the Holy Father, it is a kind of pilgrimage. But for the entire Christian world, going to the Vatican should also be considered as a pilgrimage. So the fact that our president and some officials of government were able to see the Holy Father face to face, interact with him before his death, is an indication of some blessings that were bestowed and will continue to flourish upon our land. The government indeed is saddened by the death of the Holy Father. We pray that the church, the global Catholic Church as a whole, will be consoled by the words of the Holy Books, and that specifically our country mourns along with the Vatican on the passing of the spiritual head of the church. In a special way, we want to say to the Catholic Church in Liberia, our deepest condolences, and the government will continue to identify with the church as they prepare to hold a special memorial service on Saturday, 3 o'clock at the Sacred Heart Cathedral. There will be full representation of the government, as the government had a deep sense of admiration and respect for the Holy Father. And the government is also pleased with what the Catholic Church has been able to do in our country, Liberia. Yesterday we were driving towards the airport to receive the president. And sometimes we say these things because people got to be consistently reminded. A road project was started. Millions ditched out. That project did not go anywhere until President Walker was elected. We reinvigorated that entire process, and we've been expanding, making huge progress on that corridor. But it will interest you to note that some of the so-called work that were already done are being condemned. And as a result of that, many of the spots along the highway are being uprooted to be redone. Why am I mentioning this? This is a clear example of how people squander the resources of the country. You build roads with political intent. You want people to see you doing something. And perhaps with the thought process that you will lead them into keeping you in power. And now the new government comes in, rather than exerting our energies on building new roads, building infrastructure, and doing things that the country so dearly needs, we got to be repairing the mess that you left behind. Some of you take upon yourselves, because the work is ongoing, and drive on the highway and see how many of the parts of the road are being removed to be redone, even though they were considered done, the contractors paid, but it was a waste of money. And as we try to focus ourselves on doing the right thing, so that in 6 years when President Walker leaves office, you look back, you're very proud of the country and what's happening, people are just deeply worried and they try to be disruptive. Like I said at the last press conference, political party chairmen of yesterday are pretending to be civil society actors. And all they do is to criticize and threaten protests, etc., etc. All geared towards trying to distract us from what we have to do. But let me re-emphasize, like I said at last press conference, there's nothing that can take our attention away from our goal. We made promises to the people before coming to power. We ensure that those promises are executed. We yesterday listened to and witnessed what was the ruling from the Supreme Court on the bill of information that was brought before them regarding the impasse in the House of Representatives. Our initial reaction, and I say initial because there could be additional trends of conversation But our initial reaction is we look forward to seeing an end to the ongoing division in the House of Representatives. And we'd like to state that the internal dispute ongoing there has the potential to undermine the progress that this administration is making in terms of national development and governance. The government likes to reiterate the administration's commitment to the constitutional principle of one government with three and separate and coordinated branches of the government. We like to emphasize that while there is respect for the independence of all the branches of government, we are concerned by the prolonged stalemate which threatens national cohesion and effective governance. Consequently, we like to urge all parties to honor the rule of law and leverage the opinion as for heard from the court as a pivotal point for crafting a political solution to the issues within the House of Representatives. With the help of the traditional council and other stakeholders, we spare no efforts in engaging all sides to resolve this issue. Now is the time for our elected lawmakers to put aside personal or political interest and return their full attention to the business of the Liberian people. We'd like to praise the members of the legislature, the House in particular, who have recommitted to legislative duties and urge all others to act with patriotism and unity, reminding them that their constitutional oath demands service above self. The road to national recovery requires all hands on deck. No singular interest must be allowed to outweigh our collective duty to the nation. The government expresses optimism that members of the House of Representatives will find common ground, refocus on delivering the promises of the arrest agenda for inclusive development. Like I said, these comments represent our initial actual comments on the opinion that we heard from the court, and what we said is consistent with our understanding with regards to what is going on. We have decided as the head of this entity that we allow our deputies, especially those who have responsibility in certain areas, to be featured prominently. So most times you observe that when we come to the press conference, the Minister Sando will most times take the lead. But where there are critical national issues that require my voice, I will make those comments, and then Minister Sando will run with the rest. And I think it is in that regard I want Minister Sando to conclude with our comments on the Minister of Information before inviting the permanent representative to make a presentation. Thank you for your attention.
So we announced last week, this one Tuesday, that the delegations of the Liberian government, including the Minister of Finance and Development Planning, the Minister of Education, the head of the Central Bank of Liberia, were on their way to Washington to attend the spring meeting. And of course, as a result of their engagement at that meeting, we have some good news coming up. and this news points to the fact that the World Bank is stepping up in a way to support Liberia's national development goals. And this support is coming through the upcoming Country Partnership Framework, the CPF. The bank plans to provide $490 million in funding to Liberia. This development is a major boost which the government intends to use in the areas of energy, expanding electricity access from the current 33% to 75%, lowering costs and empowering more homes and businesses. Education, investing in the future of Liberian students, agribusinesses, supporting farmers and boosting food production, digital transformation, and more. The announcement came from the World Bank Vice President Usman Dagana during a meeting with the Liberia's delegation, which is led by Finance Minister Mr. MICAT. Also, on the margins of the spring meeting, Liberia has secured support for infrastructure. The Solid Fund for Development pledged to help fund the Saraya to Vonjaman road section of the Bangalore-Maninkoma Road, joining other Arab leaders. Again, to sum up everything from the spring meeting, the Finance Minister, Honorable Kafwan, was unanimously elected chairperson of the African Development Bank's Standing Committee on Conditions of Service for Elected Officers. He will represent Liberia from this year, 2025, to next year, 2026. Liberia will serve alongside Gabon, Korea, Ireland, and Guinea-Bissau. Part of the work the government continues to do to ensure that the country can be connected with payrolls is to ensure that we live up to all of the promises, the President's commitment to address the perennial road problem that they have faced. So the Ministry of Public Works announced yesterday evening that the pavement of the Bagleyville-Southtown to Wisetown Road Corridor, 50 kilometers in Greenwood County, is about to begin. So they announced that all project affected persons, that is those who have properties in the corridor, those who have property in the corridor of the road and who have completed documentation or requirements through the local authorities, they are informing them that payments for compensation will begin on the 28th of April 2025. That payment will end on the 3rd of May 2025. These projects have to go ahead so that by the time we can begin to realize the commitment of the government, the problems we have with roads during the rainy season will be a matter of the past. So that's part of the government commitment. With that being said, let me now invite to the microphone the Honorable Wilmot Kpadeh, Liberia's permanent representative to the International Maritime Organization. He will make his presentation and we'll take questions from the press. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let me begin by extending my profound thanks to Comrade, brother, and dear friend, Minister Pia, who is the distinguished Minister of Information, and the team, for the opportunity to share this hallowed podium. And let me also give salute to my friends who accompany me here to this session. I am profoundly pleased that I returned to MICAT after many years, maybe 10 years, when I worked here as the Deputy Minister for Technical Services and on 2 occasions as IT Minister of Information. But I recall quite clearly when I led the press briefings to cover our progress on the fight against Ebola. Every day we had press conference here. Every day we set the stage to allow sector heads across the broad spectrum of the healthcare sector to come here and give us a briefing on the progress as a country we were making to battle and fall the deadly Ebola virus. Mr. Pierre, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come here, but I see how beautiful the building is. The edifice is outstanding, it's gorgeous. What it tells me in one sentence, leadership. Leadership demonstrated here. So I give my salute to you and your team for the beautification of the building, and I see on display the cultural artifacts and other symbols of our country and our tradition and culture. Yeah. To say to you and the rest of the world that this is the house of the Ministry of Culture Affairs and Tourism. I can't thank you enough, Minister Pia, you and your team for the incredible work you're doing. Distinguished colleagues of the press, let me begin by extending Easter felicitation to our fellow citizens across the country through your microphones and your cameras. And let me say to fellow Liberians, my salute and my most respect. I have the honor to serve as Liberia's permanent representative to the IMO, and let me give my deepest appreciation to the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Joseph Yumabwaka, for the confidence reposed in me to represent our country to such a very critical, significant stage in global diplomacy and politics. That being said, let me now seize the liberty to share with you my little briefings on what we are doing at the IMO, what are the critical accomplishments we have recorded over the last 1 year, how Liberia is standing in the global maritime industry, and how our country is respected once again on the global stage in the context of global maritime affairs. Some of you might know, some of you might not know what the IMO is. The IMO is the International Maritime Organization, established 1958. It's a specialized UN body with emphasis on shipping, global international shipping. And the work of the IMO is to ensure safety and security for international shipping, but to ensure the protection of the marine environment. In maritime language, when we say marine environment, we're talking about the sea, the ocean, the riverbanks, and other ecotourism areas that comprise what we call the ocean economy or the blue economy. 1 year ago, the President preferred me to serve as Liberia's permanent representative to the IMO, and since then we have represented the country very, very, very effectively and efficiently, and I have the honor to report through you to the nation that the state of the Liberia Permanent Mission in London is strong, is vibrant, is proud, is admired, is respected. That our country one more has a very tall standing, our country one more respected in the corridors of the IMO because of the quality of work that we do there and the qualitative presentation that we make the achievements, but of course the leadership that Liberia demonstrates in the corridors and the workings of the IMO. So, since I've been at the IMO, 1 year, 1 month now, when we got to the IMO, we had a moral duty. We had a lot of work to be done, considering previous stories that occurred. So we needed to retool the country's image at the IMO. So I mobilized my team and worked diligently to engage across the aisle with other member states. But more importantly, to engage the Secretary General, His Excellency Arsenio Dominguez, and to say to you, to say to him the place is trying, and Liberia now has a new representation. And so we make it a duty to work in session, to work in committee groups, working groups, and subcommittee groups, and ensure the voice of our country, of course, was towering, effective, and efficient. I'd like to say to you, amongst member states, at least 180 member states that comprise the entire member states of the IMO, Liberia is once again respected for the work we do. We continue to engage fellow member states to strengthen bonds that we've had in the past. We continue to engage to build new bonds for the good of advancing our country to greater heights in the enterprise of global maritime. And we continue to build big bridges as a global maritime leader. Liberia is a council member at the level of the IMO. And sit at the category of A, meaning the echelon of the council. The council comprises 3 segments or 3 categories: A, B, and C. A, of course, country with greater maritime interest and emphasis and significance, and Liberia amongst the US, China, France, and other global powers of the world. Liberia sits as the pride of Africa at that council. What is the importance of sitting in a council? The importance is that Liberia has opportunity to influence international maritime affairs decisions. Liberia has the opportunity to talk about its blue economy, and Liberia has the opportunity to exchange with global maritime powers. And so our country is a global maritime leader as it sits on the council in the category of category A. So over the time, we have strengthened Liberia relationship not only with the IMO leadership, but with member states. So this brings me to the point of Liberia's re-election. In December this year, Liberia will go for election to retain its seat at the council as a category A council member. I'm pleased to report to you that we have embarked on a very aggressive campaign. I have traversed the world speaking with countries, and they are pending travels to go to the UN, to the AU, to ECOWAS, and the EU to strengthen our bond with them, and to say to them, because Liberia has demonstrated absolute leadership, we are resolutely ready to retain our seat for so many reasons. One, we're the biggest registry with a fleet size of over 5,000 vessels. 2, we are the biggest due payer in the world to the IMO. And I should report to you, just yesterday, Liberia has settled its due over £5 million. And if we do the conversion to US, it should be over $7 million. We pay our dues. It demonstrates leadership. It demonstrates that we're a responsible nation, and we're doing everything to work with the IMO leadership to advance global shipping to noble heights. So, Liberia currently chairs the MEPC. The MEPC is the largest constitutional committee of the 5 different committees at the IMO. If some of you follow me carefully, you know that last month the MEPC editorial was held. Liberia had the singular honor of chairing that session for a week, and of course our own dear alternate permanent rep, Dr. Harry Conway, chaired that, and of course the outcome of that 1 week session at the IMO plenary saw a new strategy and resolution that we see going forward after October, when we finally adopt it, see the reduction of greenhouse gas across the maritime landscape globally. So with all of this very towering, outstanding credential, we think we have a very strong pedestal to advance our country to re-election for council, and I can show you with the reciprocal support we're getting from fellow council members across a broad spectrum of the member states, African states, European states, we can say with willing courage, Liberia will be re-elected. We will be re-elected because we are a responsible member of the IMO. We pay our dues, we provide leadership in working groups, in subcommittees and committees, and we participate very actively in plenary conversation as well as decision emanating from the IMO to ensure that the global maritime industry put emphasis on safety and security and to protect the environment. I'd like to ask you for your support and your prayers over the next 4, 5, 6 months to help us work diligently, help us engage very effectively, help us do all we can do to ensure that our country is re-elected. Now, when we talk about these things, it's not about politics, it's not about a party, it's not about just the government, it's about the country. When Liberia rises to great heights in the international community, it's a pride that comes to every Liberian, whether you are a party member, whether you are a common citizen, whatever, your country flag is raised high. So we ask your prayers, we ask fellow citizens to give us your support, to give us your prayers, to ensure that we keep raising our country flag high. Imagine 10 senior council members, America, France, China, Japan, those powerful countries with huge maritime interests. And somewhere there is Liberia, the only African country at that council seat, in council, having conversation with big powers, influencing decision, and of course commanding respect from our colleagues. I can't emphasize enough the pride that comes to our country and the pride that we all share as citizens of our country, far apart from politics. It's about patriotism. So I just like to, through you, colleagues of the press, you have a greater responsibility. We try at the permanent mission to put out enough information so that you have something to report to our people. We want to rally your support, your involvement in this electoral process, this campaign process that we see Liberia retain a seat in December. So next month, the 26th of May, we will launch our re-election bid. I know China has done, I know Canada has done, I know a few other countries have done. Liberia, the world will be watching. The BBC and Al Jazeera and other global institutions will descend on London for our launch. Why? It's because of the work we've done. We are not just a council member, we are a global maritime leader. I should say to you proudly that 15 or 16% of the IMO national operational annual budget is paid by Liberia. I want you to understand how big your country is on the global scene. Maybe some of you don't have the information, so you don't appreciate what we do internationally. And that's why we're here to share that information with you. The world respects you when it comes to the global maritime enterprise. The world salutes you. So I just like to, humbly ask your support as we go through this process. On the 26th, we are hoping to have the distinguished Foreign Minister, Her Excellency Sarah Beslow, our distinguished Commissioner CEO, Casamito Zazala, who has been very outstanding in terms of his leadership, and will attribute all the gains we're making to his support and his leadership. The Office of the Maritime in Virginia, and then we'll have the rest of the Global Maritime Body joining us on May 26th to launch our campaign. We'll work with Minister Pia and his team to bring this to you here at the local press. It will be very live. The BBC and other people will cover it as we make this launch. What we intend to do this year, we will have our launch on the boat, on the Thames River in London. We will use the opportunity to showcase Liberia's blue economy potential. We will talk about what we think make us far most vibrant, ready and prepared and qualified and competent to be re-elected. The Foreign Minister will give a speech. Commissioner Lau will give a speech. I, the small man, probably will lay the platform for them, so that we'll talk about our bid for re-election. Let me emphasize and illustrate the significance of maritime. The global maritime accounts for over 85% of trade and commerce. The LDCs, being the low development country, rely on maritime. The world relies on maritime. So let's bring at the level of Liberia. Maybe 80% of what we consume here comes from the international community. Come from outside. Rice, your staple, fuel, and every other thing, commodities that come here. They are conveyed here by ship. And so, global maritime is very important. And Liberia plays a very major role as a global maritime leader. Which is why we think the effort by the state, by the foreign ministry, to ensure that Liberia compete for a non-permanent member seat at the Security Council is very, very important. If our country is a council member, if our country pays the highest due at the IMO, which is a specialized UN body, if global maritime accounts for over 85% of international trade or global trade, if Liberia plays a leadership role there, and if this borders on economic security, why not give us a chance to have a non-permanent seat at the Security Council? So I'm pleased to inform you that the President has spoken with us and has asked us to work with the Foreign Ministry team to bring to bear Liberia's credential and accomplishment, an enviable record in global maritime affairs, toward the argument that we make collectively for the non-permanent seat on the UN Security Council. So let me inform you that maritime will be part of that campaign, bringing forth our credentials and all that we do, that put us in a better position. Beyond that, our country continues to demonstrate leadership. We've had experience. We saw the tragedy of war and terror and horror. We woke up, put ourselves together. We have a democracy that we find faith in and we cherish. We see smooth transition consistently from one president, elected president to another. We see legislative election smoothly. In the face of disagreement, we agree as one people to maintain the peace and tranquility of our country. We know the ropes to get to peace because we have had war before. So Liberia, based on all of what I've shared with you, whether it be at the IMO, be it the experience, everything, certainly have the moral pedestal to stand for that seat, and we will be lending our support to the effect. Distinguished colleagues of the press, let me now come to a very important aspect that we want to rally and solicit your support on, is the 8th AMA Summit. Let me officially announce to you that Liberia will host the 8th AMA Summit from 30 September to the 4th of October. Let me talk a little bit about AMA. AMA is the African Maritime Administration. It's a composite or a conglomerate of African maritime member states. Close to 50 countries across Africa are member of the AMA. Last year, we had the honor of attending and participating in the 7th Summit in Dar es Salaam. And after all our deliberation, the task of choosing the next host was amongst 4 countries: Liberia, Ghana, Kenya, and Nigeria. Because Liberia continued to demonstrate leadership, compose itself very well in the global maritime space, the AMA Summit, the Assembly, decided that they will honor us with the 8th AMA Summit. This is big for our country. This is a pride for our country. Again, in the spirit of patriotism, I admonish fellow citizens here in this room and across our country, following me by your cameras and your live shows. This is a moment for us to share in and for us to come together. When we went to Dar es Salaam, the president and the whole complement, full complement of the state of Tanzania owned this program. Citizens stood on the roadside with the flag, Tanzania flag, to receive us. This is by far the biggest conference since Liberia hosted the AAU or the OAU in 1979. 58 African countries will troop on Monrovia. European countries will come, essentially because this year is a major year for IMO and a lot of elections going on. We are expecting to have His Excellency Arsenio Dominguez, the Secretary General, who has said to me he will attend because Liberia is a friend. But not only that, I said to you, the role we play in the International Maritime to come for this conference. Let me again re-emphasize patriotism. What are you from CDC, you're from Unity Party, you're from Liberty Party, put that behind you. On this conference, like the Tanzanians did, the Ghanaians will be Ghana will be hosting the 9th conference after year. They are coming to see how we organize the conference. They come to see how Liberia compose and comport itself as a global maritime leader. The world will be coming here. Europeans will be coming here. we ask fellow citizens, in the spirit of patriotism, to join in and join ranks, give your support. Make sure this is a successful program. Later this, maybe in August, the Minister of Information, who is heading the PR aspect of this conference, will give you a lot of information on protocols, on what will be happening and stuff like that. But what we've done effectively, we've been able to bring together state parish structures, state institutions with relevant significance to this planning. Information Ministry, Foreign Ministry, Minister of State, the maritime, all of them to come together, all right, and lay the room out for a successful conference that is expected to last for maybe 4 days. We want good attitude. We want the press to give us good report. We want the press to unshackle themselves from journalism. Because before journalism, you're Liberian first. And so you have a duty to love your country. And this coming to your country on the basis of merit. Not because, a particular party is in power, even though a particular party has conducted itself fervently, responsibly, which I underscore to you. But this is a country. The pride we have to share, we own the country together. So we want to ask indulgence for your support, members of the press. I want to ask all our people across Montserrat, even those beyond Montserrat, to put us in your prayers and send us your moral support as Liberia hosts the 8th Annual Summit with over 48 African countries coming here, over 30 International Maritime Organizations led by the IMO, European Union, coming here to discuss the affairs of maritime, to discuss the affairs of African blue economy, the potential that we have. How can we harness our potential? How can we, beyond IMO as a continent, come together, strengthen our resources, and lay down a roadmap on how maritime can be a blessing to our country, to our citizenry. This is very important. The maritime sector is very important because it holds huge potential. Liberia is blessed. Look at the waterways. Look at the waterways, the ocean, the seas, the riverbed. Look at your touristics, sites, ecotourism. What is Patawee? What is the blue? How you call it, the blue what? The Blue Lake, and other places across the country. Business, maritime business, people from the industry will be coming. So it's a very, very, very big one. So pretty much, I think I have covered substantially my presentation. I just again want to say to all of you, we can assure you that we will continue to represent our country with pride and dignity. We will work diligently to make Liberia proud at the level of the IMO, and we will continue to inform the Liberian public on the work we're doing in the spirit of public service accountability and transparency, as we always do. And to say to all of you, God bless you, and Mr. Pia, thank you for the opportunity to come and share your podium. If you have questions, I'm sure that would be, of course.
Yes, so yes,
Thank you, man.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, you just listen to the voice of Liberia's permanent representative to the IMO. He outlined a number of good things that are happening for the country on the international scene, specifically the IMO, the full payment of Liberia's due, Liberia contesting for council seats, and the 8th annual conference that will be hosted here in Monrovia on September 30th to October 4th. You listen to him, you also listen to Minister Pia, you listen when I spoke, we will now provide you the opportunity to put your question to us. Please form the queue and Procedure, you take the question one at a time.
Please introduce yourself and the institution you report from.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pia, and the Iron Force. Thank you for coming. My name is Strobel Flying. I work for Spoon TV. We're concerned you highlighted the IMO Mr. Kpadeh. So my concern is, and I think several Liberians share that concern with me. You asserted that Liberia is making enjoying some privileges and making headways in the maritime industry and the marine ecosystem and all of that. And you also went on to say that Liberia was able to settle its debt amounting to, 6.5 million. The concern is all of these privileges and settling of our debts, and also the recent, election of Liberia to Category A. These are all, good things for the country, but the concern many Liberians share is in terms of monetary value, cents and dollars, how much Liberia, accrue from all of these opportunities, carrying on. Liberia now has the highest fleet flying our flag and all of that. How much Liberia has been able to accrue for this, and how much the Maritime Authority has been able to contribute to national budget to impact the lives of ordinary people in Liberia, in the interior, people in your PA, in Town, Grand Basso, and all the places. With all of these opportunities I just explained in terms of cents and dollars. And B to the question, since the line is not on, B to the question is your predecessor, before you can come to this position, there was this, sexual assault on him. He was arrested, sentenced to 9 years in prison in South Korea. You are on the diplomatic scene in the international community for the country. What picture does this pin on the country? Have you been confronted, on any occasion about the behavior of your predecessor? And to Minister Pia, we are still seeing the portrait of Representative Richard Nagakun in this hall. This demonstrates that you still acknowledged, despite the court ruling notifying the leadership of Representative Kun on yesterday as Speaker of the House of Representatives, for the display of the photograph. Many are also concerned that are you in defiance of the court's order, considering that you are the promoter of the arrest agenda, and one of the arrows in the arrest agenda talks about the adherence to the rule of law. Are you in defiance of, to the court's order from the display of Representative Kun photograph in your hall here? Thank you.
My name is Joseph Sedith and I report for ABC Radio. My first question goes to Mr. Pia. Mr. Pia, how concerned is the executive, to be specific, the president, looking at the legal advisors that was appointed to guide the president in legal matters? At first, it was Councillor Bujuben Keita who talked about the tenure issues, and we saw how the court came out with the ruling against tenure positions. Secondly, the Attorney General of the Republic of Liberia misinterprets the Supreme Court ruling yesterday when the Chief Justice ruled, she considered the Attorney General interpretation as irrelevant. So is the government concerned that people who are appointed to guard the president legally, to guard the president legally will be misleading the president when it comes to legal matter? Thank you.
Thank you so kindly. My name is Desmond Moyo, and I report for Democracy Watch. I have basically three concerns, and let me first and foremost to thank Mr. Kpadeh for representing Liberia at Ango. The liberation was quite impressive, but concerning Liberia's representation at the international stage, where we are at the verge of lobbying for non-permanent seat. With all of what you named or described Liberia with Liberia's commitment to the IMO, is there a specific eligibility criteria for a participating country to be elected? If yes, do you mind to tell us some of these criteria? And just a follow-up, in passing, I would like to correct my colleague. On your watch, the government paid all due, Liberia paid all due. That was not a debt. So it's a good thing for Liberia to pay all due, but it is more interesting for us to know, in a different shape, how much impact will this commitment Liberia's continue to demonstrate at the handle on the growth of our national economy. To the official spokesperson of government, representing the executive branch, the country is so concerned about the recent ruling, which was the yesterday ruling from the Supreme Court. And while it is true with a definite position, acknowledging the separation of powers, as a government, as a branch, do you think there is a sharp contradiction from the Supreme Court ruling, from its official ruling that says these two bodies of the legislature, the majority and the minority, were operating illegally, and now that the Supreme Court has come out to say, while it's true, we said two of you are operating illegally at the time, but now we are saying that only you, the majority bloc, is operating legally. You think there is a sharp contradiction within the Supreme Court ruling? If yes, then you please explain about that. The last concern to Deputy Minister Sando, the issues about the World Bank committing herself to over $4 billion to Liberia infrastructure development is a good thing. Is this money a grant or a no? Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm Larry Estebe, and I report for Ghana FM. 2 concerns, and all go to Mr. Pia. The first one has to do with the recent pronouncement of the U.S. government, and then according to the UN government, there is a plan to terminate the grants that were to be allotted to developing countries who met the Millennium Challenge requirements. And Liberia is one of the countries that was to benefit the amount of $500 United States dollars. $500 United States dollars.
Larry, please restate the question for clarity.
I'm saying the U.S. government yesterday announced that there's a plan to terminate the grants that were to be given to developing countries. And Liberia is one of the countries that was to benefit from that particular grant. My question is the government aware of that? If yes, do you have any initial response to that particular event? And then number two, when the Supreme Court ruled first, the government was swift to have invited the Justice Minister to come and interpret the court's ruling. Today, it is a different ballgame. After the court ruling, we have the Information Minister interpreting the court or explaining or saying something about the court's ruling. Now, my question is, why are you saying something about the court ruling and then forgetting about the Justice Minister who earlier on interpret or explain the court's ruling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for all the questions.
So the question about someone talking about debt, there's no debt. We pay our dues on time. So there's no issue about that. And then you talk about the Brown saga. Long before you were appointed, that matter was disposed of in the court of law. I think the government had made representation in Korea. It is said a crime was committed. A penalty has been passed down. So it has nothing to do with us at the level of IMO. We don't talk about that at the level of IMO. We talk about advancing Liberia to greater heights at the IMO. So I mean, long before you have appointed, that matter was disposed of. So you need to have a track of what happened even long before I got there. Someone asked about maritime revenue. How much Liberia generate from maritime revenue? I got nothing much to do with that aspect of my work, but it's a public knowledge. The LRA is responsible institutionally to deal with revenue matter. They have a whole, comprehensive information on what states, what different institutions are generating in terms of money. So you want to speak with them, they'll tell you that. I'm a diplomat at the level of IMO. My job is to represent Liberia and articulate a Liberia position in IMO deliberations. So what is decision making, what is setting standards for maritime safety and security, that's the work I do, and I reported on that clearly to you. So relative to revenue generation is not in my limit, but there is LRA responsible for that effect. Then someone talk about electability. Can you come back because that question was not clear?
Yes, so Liberia, we are seeking about Liberia non-permanent seat, and is there a specific eligibility criteria set up by the IMO for a participant country to get elected?
Oh yeah, but that has been in place. Of course, you gotta be well a member in good standing, meaning you pay your dues. Okay, that constitutes good standing, pay your dues, and fulfill your other responsibility. Attend meetings, participate in working groups, subcommittees, and committee. Liberia does all of that effectively. I just said to you, Liberia even chaired the largest committee, which is the MEPC. We just presided over the plenary last month, the 83rd plenary on the MEPC, okay, led by my deputy, the alternate, Dr. Harry Conway, and we did that very effectively. All right. So so you have to be in good standing. Many countries are not good members in good standing. Many member states are in good standing. Some of them even Europeans. But Liberia stand tall and Liberia stand apart when it comes to fulfilling its responsibility. So those are the things that constitute your moral pedestal, your moral standing for electability when it comes to council elections or IMO activities. Liberia is far ahead and standing proudly and standing very tall when it comes to fulfilling its responsibility. Be it due payment, on time or in time, be it leadership role, be it ensuring that our vessels are compliant with international regulations and instruments at the level of IMO, be it the work that I do in my capacity as a permanent rep, going to section regularly and participating, and not just participating, but participating very effectively. Qualitative interventions that I make, if you follow some of the work that I do there, and we have an office set up, one of the best in recent time, one of the best permanent missions in London, and we're saying to fellow citizens, if you're in London, please pass by the permanent mission office and see how we're doing that and how we continue to make our country proud and Liberians proud. So that would be my response. Do you? Did I answer that well?
Sure.
Okay. That's all? Yeah. Okay. Did I answer that well? Do you have any question again? Okay. Good. Thank you.
the media is very critical for everything that will happen in the country. So the media should always strive for standard. What we do here, based on how far and wide some of the networks can go, are followed by people. They can be compelled to see the way they see the media in Liberia by your performances. I encourage some of you to be beyond where you are currently. And for the rest of you, I'm speaking to the rest of you. Did I at any time in the press conference interpret the Supreme Court ruling? Did I? No. One of your colleagues is saying you interpreted the ruling instead of the justice minister. And sometimes that's how misinformation can fly like eagle. Members of the press should be informed. The only mayor who can have an opinion on the ruling of the Supreme Court by law is the Minister of Justice. The media personnel should know that. If you don't, then something is wrong. So no, Chief, I did not interpret the Supreme Court's ruling. I made a statement that is in black and white. If you are not listening properly, read that statement again and again. And realize that that is our initial comment. What are they saying? Was that these will be our initial comment. I didn't tell you I was coming to interpret the ruling of the Supreme Court. And if the Justice Minister chooses to have an opinion on the Supreme Court, he does not do it by your tummy. And because you don't see him now, you question why it's not him and the information minister is interpreting. Even though that's misinformation because they didn't interpret it. So the basis and foundation of the question is flawed, and I'm not going to waste any further time on it. The same goes to my good friend Truman for Sports. I read a statement where in that statement did I mention defiance to the Supreme Court. You basically looking all around the world and say, oh, I see one picture there. Are you defying the Supreme Court? Maybe you need to set up one task force to move from every public and private buildings and see what kind of picture on the wall there. I'm the Minister of Information. One of you brought a photo here before. And I told you the Minister of Information working out be cleaning on wall in all the offices and taking down all the picture. Those who are responsible when the determination is made as to whether the picture should be up, down, on the ground, or on the wall, or wherever, they will take that decision. I have more important things to do than to be running from office to office and looking for why on the wall, why it's not on the wall. Thank you that it was a concern for you, so you're looking all in the city, all in the ground, looking on the wall. That's good for you. So I read a statement this morning. If you believe that there's contradiction in what the Supreme Court did, that's your right to say. You're seriously entitled to your own view and freedom. And that means we will come on the platform and talk about somebody contradicting the first ruling and this one. I didn't come here to go into the ruling. I came here to say what we make of it initially. And if you didn't get it clear, go back and read my comments. Read it over and over. And consider. If I have more things to say beyond that, it will be my statement. So you can even ask 1 million questions. I'm not going to say anything different from what I read. MCC. You said there are plans. So why we and see the plan? Because months ago, the same people said 1,500 people were already lined up to be deported. They were on their way, or running around with this. until the US came and said there's no list. And of course, no 1,500 questions are being deported. So if you don't know about plan about MCC, a plan is different from an action. And an action, I want to discuss plan. The day the MCC announced that the grant is cancelled, ask me what the government thinks, and I'll provide an answer. I can be providing an answer to quote-unquote plans to cancel grants. Let's wait. That will do the question, right?
Thanks to Mr. Pia and Mr. Kpadeh. We will, on that note, we'd like to draw the press conference to a close. We ask that our guests take pose for a historic picture with the team here from the Ministry of